fantastic time. One of the neatest things about up there in those mountains, and I can't understand this, as much snow as they get, and I know they have to use tons of salt on them roads, but all the mid-'80s vehicles, the old F-150s, 250s, old Ford trucks, Toyota pickups, and 4Runners, these things from the mid-'80s, they look like they're brand new. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out why they're not rusted all to pieces. I mean, with all that horrible weather and the roads, and like I said, I'm sure they have to use salt. I'm just trying to figure out if the drier air and the less humidity has anything on the deterioration of metal up there like that. But I'm telling you, here you are in the middle of a snow town, basically, in mountains, and you're sitting around looking and you see these vehicles they look like they're brand new, and most of them were from the mid-'80s. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that is incredible. But that's the first time I really ever paid attention to that. But they're just some excellent, I mean, these things are mint condition. I guess it's money folks, probably just has vacation properties up there, and they just probably sit in the garage most of the time. But when they do use them, it's usually, I'm sure, in very snowy, bad road type of weather. But I was really impressed at the condition of so many mid and early 80s trucks and SUVs that were just, I mean, they looked like they were brand new. And you would expect them, I mean, if they were from the Northeast, they wouldn't be nothing left of them. But these were in amazing condition. And I'm sitting there, I just like, well, I thought I'd mention that. Maybe somebody's got an answer for me on why the bodies ain't fell clean off of these things just because they're from, say, Northern California.
Thank you so much for the open mics today. Again, feel free to download our free WDBO app right there in the App Store or Play Store and send us an open mic that way. We love to hear from you. It's a kind of a way to get some calls on the air without having to call in. So speaking of callers, let's go to Steve calling from Deltona. And Steve doesn't have a question so much as a continuation of the trucks out west conversation. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Steve, go ahead.
Your answer to your question about why the cars don't rust that much out west.
Uh-huh.
It's because when they up in Tahoe, they do not use salt on the roads. They use sand and cinder.
You can see it in the snow. You can see it in the snow because it's kind of like black. You can see that. Yeah. I would agree with that. But why would they? I mean, it's really funny because I'm telling you, you go out there and you drive around and you sit and you look at some mid-'80s Ford truck, and it looks like it rolled off the showroom. I'm like, and a lot of these, you could tell they were not repaints. These are vehicles that have been preserved that well out there. Me being from West Virginia, me being from West Virginia, I mean, they get any snow on the road. I mean, the first thing they do is got salt trucks running up and down the highways like crazy. And it shows, too, you look at a 3-year-old vehicle and half the body's gone on it. And Lord forbid you got to go and do any serious chassis work to it in the future. You're not going to take anything apart unless you got a torch with you. But I'm telling you, I was just, those vehicles were so well preserved. I mean, they were as well preserved as a vehicle here from Florida. And the only thing we really have to fight against here in Florida is the UV rays, because it's so hard on paint. It's so hard on, clear coats and stuff like that. That's why you see so many of the clear coats, flaking and that sort of thing. But the bodies here last a long, long time. But up there, I was really surprised, especially with that type of a climate, that much snow. And I'm like, well, there's got to be something to this. They can't be using salt, or these old vehicles would have been gone years ago. So I was really impressed, and I'm like, well, I guess that answers my question, Steve. If they're using sand and cinder as opposed to salt, then that would definitely explain. And you know what? When you think about it, using something like that's got to be a whole lot more environmentally friendly than using salt. You get up here in the Northeast where they just pound everything with that salt. You go and you think about it. As it if deteriorates, that salt is going to be running into all your freshwater streams and probably contaminating a lot of water sources. You don't want to mix salt with fresh water, especially if it's got fish and wildlife and everything else depending on it. So maybe that's one thing that California has got figured out. I'm sure they got a tax for it, though. But hey, you know what? If it works, you go with it. I appreciate your call, Steve. I appreciate you checking in with us. You have a wonderful new year, and I think we're coming up here on a break. Thanks for tuning in to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show, and of course our new YouTube channel. For more automotive tips, tricks, and just general information, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel.